Hey everybody, today we have Abigail Hardin, co-founder of a company called Up-to-Date Actor. Up-to-Date Actor is a really amazing system that helps actors demystify the business side of acting and systematize things so that their career growth becomes more easy and more automated. Thank you for joining me. I'm very excited to talk about this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on the company? Like, what does it do for actors? I'm also definitely curious to hear about your own story and how you got into this. But if you don't mind starting us out, because everybody's like kind of interested, I'm sure, like, what is this company and what do you do?
Sure. The Up-to-Date Actor is based on actually my mother's company, Up-to-Date Theatricals, which has been around for 30 years. She's been providing contact info for the entertainment industry through 7 publications that have been sold at the Drama Bookshop, Actors Connection, Ripley Greer, Theater Circle, and online. And so basically I've digitized that and added into it a whole slew of different tools to aid the actor in being the CEO of their business. So things like, well, first of all, the most updated and comprehensive contact info for the whole country, as far as casting directors, agents, managers, projects casting, that kind of thing, as well as audition logs and tax income and deduction logs to help you during tax time. So just kind of the whole CEO, demystify the business is what we say, but we just launched in May. So we're still just kind of refining things and listening to our users and saying what features do they really want. So we're still just kind of really building this and want to deliver an app that can really be a game changer.
That's awesome. Really, really, really cool. And
a lot, I know.
It's so important that you're actually listening. You know, you talk about listening to what people want. And in a lot of actors' minds, there's a lot of companies out there that do all kinds of stuff, but they tend not to really, you know, do that listening, or they just kind of provide the services like, here's what it is, you know, that's it. You don't like it, too bad, you know? And I feel like the companies that actually really care and ask and they make the changes based on feedback and stuff is a huge benefit to why actors should consider using the service. So tell me a little bit about your own backstory. How did you get into all of this?
Okay, well, I was a child actress. I grew up here in New York, in Manhattan, and was acting and singing and auditioning and all that since I was like 5, pretty much. Then I went to Emerson College for musical theater and came back and started, you know, hitting the pavement like everybody else. But I always had, you know, I think actors have a lot of different interests. And so one of my interests was coding. I taught myself the little fundamental basics of coding in order to update my own actor website. And then I kind of saw a future in that as far as a skill. I mean, it's a really great skill to have in this day and age. So I went back to school at Hunter for a certificate in graphic design and programming. And a light bulb went off in my head during a databasing class, and I was like, this is my mom's entire business. And at the time, she was updating 2 different documents at different times, and it was just really analog. And so I started out by saying, let me really try and develop this, and then I believe in it, and then it helps my mom. So that was about maybe 8 years ago, and then it started out as this idea, and I just kept developing it. And so I have been pretty much the sole person coding this. So when you go to uptodateactor.com, it's me. I always say to users, you know, email me and let me know if there's something that's either not working right or that you think could be better. And I say, literally, it's me. Like, you'll get me when you email, and I, you know, try and respond and at least be honest about like how long it'll take me to implement something. But sometimes it's 24 hours, sometimes it's a week. So that's a little bit of as far as how I got into it. I also used to work at the Drama Bookshop. I worked there for 11 years. And so really saw what resources we had as actors and what was also missing, especially in that transition from analog to digital. You know, there's monthly paper publications and there's books, but they're in such a digital age. I really felt like the actor was missing something kind of that, I don't know, that could equal the digital aspects that exist already in other industries.
Yeah. Well, what specifically does the up to date? I mean, you mentioned some of the stuff earlier, but like, what specifically does it help actors with, and why should they like care or be interested in those specific features?
Yeah. Yeah, great question. So one thing that we say that it's a holistic approach, and that's because yes, we have over 7,000 industry contacts nationwide, but we're so much more than just data. What we really encourage you to do is be specific and seek out specific people, be it agents or casting directors, whoever you're trying to really focus and meet, or be it projects, but be specific and target. And so it's not just a flat thing of data that you're just clicking on, but you can actually then follow a specific casting company and then get notifications of any new projects that are added, any updates to their roster or to their contact info. And likewise with an individual, like say a specific agent or a specific casting director, you can target them and get notifications whenever they're going to be, and I get really excited about this, at any networking event. So if you're not getting seen by somebody or seen for a specific show, you can do the research, find out who's, say, casting it, or the agent that you really want to meet. And then if you're not getting submitted, then you can go and know how to best spend your time and money in order to meet them. So that's a very small aspect of it, but that's where I say that I don't really think that this exists, and that we're so used to like everything being separate and being kind of kept at arm's length. And this really allows the actor to really build a web of their specific targets and kind of create, say, a 6-month plan. So again, just specificity is really key. That would be one of the number one things I would say. But then on top of that, we have audition logs that track whenever you meet an agent or a manager, or if you audition for something, so that in a year you can click on a casting director and see, oh, I auditioned for them 3 times. So it's keeping track of that kind of stuff in a way that we all have had the Excel sheet, the document that you just kind of keep adding to, or the Word document or the journal. Well, this takes that journal and then actually connects all the dots for you. So that way you can then just log your audition and walk away and know that, hey, okay, it's all logged, it's there. I can now focus on my actual craft, but yet this whole kind of connection, relationship building aspect is happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So basically it helps you stay more organized. It's kind of like, I mean, if actors know, many of them probably wouldn't what a CRM system is, but like, client relationship management. In this case, you could use the C and say casting director management, CDRM. I think that's really, really awesome, because it's so important as you move your career forward to keep in touch with people. And a lot of actors, I feel like, they might be targeted at one point, but then they sort of like just kind of like forget about it. It's like, hey, I'm setting goals today and this is my goal, and now I want to focus on this. But then like as time passes, they sort of like, things kind of like fall apart because they get like caught up, Does your software help with not getting caught up and staying on track with things? And if not, do you have like tips that you recommend for actors to stay on top and remember to like follow through with their networking and connecting and stuff?
Definitely. That's one thing that, just to reiterate, we launched in May of 2019. It's the beginning of August now. So we're still, figuring out how we can help people and how we can engage people. So one thing right now is that we send out little, weekly tips of how to use the software in order to get the most out of it.
Awesome.
Some people get it like this. Some people are, take a little bit longer. So many aspects to the whole site. We really want to help, show people how they can maximize their account. And actually one thing you just said about like setting goals and getting kind of lost in the fray, I have to say we had one user who wrote me and just as a thank you, and said, thank you for this. There's this little aspect where you set goals of how many auditions you want each month. And then as you add auditions, you see it tick towards your progress. So are you meeting your goal? So it's red until you hit your goal, threshold. and then it turns green. And she sent me a little screenshot of her screen and how it had turned green of her audition log. And she said how she had been spending so much time prior on actually, you know, working on her career, but that she didn't realize how actually few auditions she was getting until she actually stopped and tracked it and saw that, you know, we need to work a lot. We need to put time and effort, but you want to make sure that that effort is at least moving you in the right direction. So really accountability is key. And I was so happy to hear this organic example of a user just really saying, thank you, you held me accountable. And now I was, you know, trying to meet the wrong people, and I'm now shifting my game plan. So that's a huge aspect that I'm happy to see that people are kind of getting.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there's so many different things, you know, that, you know, systems and software and everything are now able to help people with that. You know, the more data that you have essentially about your career and everything, the more powerful. And I think that it can definitely feel a little bit overwhelming, because at times I recommend to actors, like, say that they're trying to figure out what is their brand or what is their general type or whatever, right? And so it's like, okay, during your first year to year and a half of acting, what you want to do is, you know, go out for all these different auditions, submit whatever your couple of headshots are, and you track, like, you know, which headshot got you for what type of roles and how often, and which this way, after like a few months, you start to have data on, like, this headshot is most effective for me for these types of roles. But once I'm at the roles, you know, you're also tracking like how many of them you book, and you're realizing, you know, this headshot's getting me in for these roles, but I'm not booking them. So maybe there's either a problem with my audition technique, or maybe there's a problem that, like, I don't look like my headshot or something, you know? Does your software, or is that something that you're like considering, like in the future, like helping people like track even like more detailed stuff without somehow it feeling like too overwhelming for the actor?
Definitely. Right now we have little things where, and we're building out our reports, where we have the aspect right now where you can log this kind of info. And the reports are what I'm currently in the middle of really kind of fleshing out. But one thing we already do track is, yes, like your rate of callbacks. How much are you booking? What genres, what areas are you booking? We don't right now have the submission aspect, but I love that. I think that's a great idea, as far as, yes, to track which headshot you're submitting, and how, like, yes, when that, I guess, the percentage of when it gets you an audition and that kind of thing. So I mean, again, that would be something that I'm so open to adding and implementing as far as like ideas. I think it's a great idea.
It's so funny with like having this conversation, because my mind is spinning right now. I mean, I know that we're doing this interview, and you know, I have very specific questions that I'm asked, but I'm just very excited because, you know, I'm very, very marketing driven, and I understand business. I'm fortunate that I've done like 10 years of like research and studying and learning and running my own business and everything, that I like do coaching and business consulting with people to help them see these things. And what I've always been thinking is, like, you know, there's so many things that I can tell actors that they can do, and each one of them, like, you know, use them towards a goal. But if there was some sort of way that I could systematize that or put it into software, it would make it so much easier for them to actually implement the things that, you know, we're working on together.
Yeah.
So like, I'm excited at the fact that you actually have a system that's beginning to do this. And, you know, I feel like there could be some sort of synergy there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything's always, I think, synchronicity and coincidence. You're always brought to the right place at the right time. So.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to now kind of shift gears a little bit into strategies and recommendations and things, because we've been talking about how great this system is. And, you know, I'm going to I want to check this out in a lot of detail and like push as many actors as possible towards using it, because it sounds really amazing. But let's talk a little bit, for the sake of this interview, about just like strategies and marketing tactics and different things. And so I'm curious, like, what would you say are a couple of recommendations that you could make to actors, just kind of right off the bat? Let's say even if they don't have access to your software, And some actors, you know, there's costs and some actors are struggling with funds and stuff. What are some things that actors can kind of do on their own to sort of like move their career forward?
Oh, well, I mean, truly the main thing that I say is be specific. So we always recommend that you really let me start over. We always recommend that you really get specific, even to the point, say, for the next 6 on this one area. We all want to do everything. We all want to say, I can do theater, I can do TV, I can do film, I can do commercials, all of it. But especially here in New York, I think specificity really helps open doors and moves your career faster. So doesn't mean to say that you're not going to focus on all of them at some point. I think film and TV is a really great way to move your career forward. You can get some small co-star roles pretty easily if you're not even at that level. There is nothing wrong with doing some background to get comfortable with the camera. But the reason why I say film and TV is that so much theater just in New York, unfortunately, in regional theater does not pay as much as, you know, we would like. And so especially if you're looking for an agent or a manager, you have to at least be in that game of film and TV, I think, in order to really become at least attractive to like a certain level. Theater is great. I started in theater. I love theater. I think that though, by targeting TV, and also I say TV is because you can watch the first season of a TV show and know, am I the right fit for this show? And not everybody is the right fit for each TV show. So not just saying, hey, I want to be on TV, but say, no, these are the 5 TV shows that I'm right for, meaning that I'm a right fit for the demographics of the show, be that age, race, feel, and that I'm a comedian, and so I'm going to go for Mrs. Maisel, you know, or something like that. But by doing that, and so therefore, even when you have a meeting with an agent or a manager, that you can say, hey, these are the 5 shows I want to be on. You have to come to the interview, interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. And I think knowing what you want, being specific, again, just specific is the key. And then also really knowing the industry. You need to just have 5 TV shows that you are perfect for. If you're interested in theater, you need to have 5 theater pieces that you can rattle off like that and say, these are my 5 roles. And you also need to have a list of the casting directors who know your work and then the casting directors who you would like to be seen by. And that way, again, you don't waste time wondering, oh, I want to meet somebody, or I want to go to a networking event. You know exactly who to spend your precious time and money on. And then when you meet an agent or a manager, you also can say, I've done my homework, I've done my part. Can you help move me are we a right fit? Can you help move me in the right direction? So that would be my first main thing.
I think that that's excellent. I mean, you know, that's the number one rule of marketing. You can't do anything until you figure out your target market, they say, you know, and for actors, their market is basically the types of projects and shows or whatever that they want to be on, or the types of specific characters that they play best, where they fit, and then who is involved with those shows. Now you know where to target your marketing.
Exactly.
I think that that's really, really smart. I also think that there's, you know, a lot of actors need to be aware of the 80-20 rule, as they say, which is, you know, you have 100% of your time, and most of the time you're spending 80% of it doing things that aren't really helping you all that much. They're only helping you 20%. Whereas the 20% of the things that you're doing are really what's giving you 80% of results. And if you figure out what are those like couple of things that I do that get me the most results, and stop wasting your time on all the other stuff and do more of those things, then you really, really start moving forward way faster, and you're also way less stressed.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to do that, in my opinion, is basically exactly what you said, which is figuring out really, really specific. Plus, I feel like it's important for actors to remember that the more specific that you are, the more confidence it genuinely can give you. Because if you're like, you know, I want to be everything to everyone, you know, you can never be really confident in one thing. If you're like, hey, this is what I specifically know I'm awesome at, and I do this, and these are the people who I want to meet, then when you go in, you already know that you're confident in yourself, and you can also be confident in telling the person, this is specifically what I want, like when you're meeting an agent. And they see that confidence and they're like, shoot, this person knows what they want. I want to bring them on. Lots of agents don't want to work with people because they just don't know what they want, or they're not clear. So they're like, how am I going to work with this person? You know?
Well, and it's also, there's a myth that agents just solve the problem, that they start doing all the work for you. And I believe that an agent wants to work with somebody who is doing the equal work. Nobody, someone who's just waiting, want to have a collaboration with somebody who is still, hearing about projects, still knows, like we were saying, exactly what they are going after. And on the last thing of just being specific with even a specific area to focus on, in New York and LA, any of the major markets, when you go out for a commercial, you're going against people who, that's all they do. They eat, sleep, and breathe commercials, or voiceover. So many people get told, you got a great voice, you should be in voiceovers, but you're going up against people who that is all that they do is voiceovers. And so just really knowing that shouldn't stop you, but just know that you're going up against the best of the best. And so really be specific so you can spend your time and money on training in that one area to then really advance in that area, and then hopefully let it, translate to all the other areas that you're interested in.
Yeah. Sorry, it froze up a little bit there for a second. Okay, so let me see really quick. What is my next question here? I want to talk just a little bit for a minute about agents themselves. We discussed just before the whole idea that agents, they want to work with somebody who's going to do a lot of work, or not like all the work, but like at least half of the work. It kind of cuts you off a teeny bit when you're saying that. No one wants to work with somebody who's just kind of, being like, oh, good, I got an agent, now I can slack off, But like, my question is, when you're looking to work with an agent, I recently did an interview with an actor named Arvinder Robinson, who's really awesome, a really cool guy. But he was talking all about how he actually landed his first Broadway show without an agent.
Yeah,
and I feel like it's important to remember. So talk a little bit about that. Like, if an actor does not have an agent, what are some things that they can do that can increase their chance of landing something that they feel like is prestigious?
Sure. Well, for one thing is knowing all of the resources available to you in order to find audition notices, or just you have to be in the know. You can't just be waiting. You have to do research. You have to know the films that are coming out, the TV shows that are being renewed for a second, third season. And then it's your responsibility to find out who is casting. And you can do that on the Up-to-Date Actor for the most part. But in general, in this day and age, it's not hard to find. There are so many resources to find out who's casting something. But that being said, I think that general submissions, actors are told not to submit unless it's for a specific audition post. And while yes, that is generally still a good rule of thumb to go by, if you are dead right for something, it's your job to inform the casting directors of how your unique talent and how you are right for them. So if there is a show, like a TV show that is heavy on specific languages, of foreign languages, and you have that foreign language skill set, it is my belief that nothing should stop you from direct submitting to that show. We've seen it work with our users, that people get called in. Now, at that point, then it's your it's your job to show up and like you were saying earlier, of can you now book it? But I think the art of the cover letter is something that people need to spend more time on. A few things that we say is always be confident. Nobody wants to, we kind of equate it to dating, of that nobody wants to date somebody who doesn't already think that feel good about themselves, of that I deserve to be here. You want confidence. You want also specificity. Again, specificity, but you can't just say, as you can see by my resume, I'm right for this. You need to say, as you can see by my resume, or that as my fluency in French, I don't know, whatever, whatever's the specific thing that is what makes you right for that show. So not submissions that are just oh, I want to be in this. Oh, this, you need to have a reason why you are a perfect fit for either the world of the project or for a specific role if you know about it. But I think that people do put way too much weight on agents, that they are the ones that can get you in these big projects. I myself have a friend who booked her first Broadway show without an agent. So it definitely happens. And I think, with Broadway, there's always EPAs. You need to go to that. That's your shot to be seen. So, and film and TV, if you know about it and if you find out the info, I encourage you to submit if you are specifically right for that piece.
So let's actually talk about that. I think it's really, really interesting because a lot of actors are kind of like scared of, almost in a sense, cold emailing, and directly submitting for things. So first, what would you say if an actor wanted to do that? What exactly do they do? How do they find the information to be able to direct submit? And what do you recommend? Obviously, we talked like, hey, I absolutely believe that I live and breathe this role because blah, 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 but are there anything specific that they should either say or do or avoid doing during that direct submission process?
Yeah, definitely. Well, for one, on the Up-to-Date Actor, for the past, I guess 20 plus years, whenever we call our New York information monthly, we call our agents and our casting directors monthly, and we ask, how do you want to be contacted? And so they will actually say, submit via email, submit via mail, submit postcards only, do not submit, all that kind of stuff. And so we tell you that. I think it's a pretty faux pas if they say, do not email me. And if you email, that's, you're asking for it to just be automatically deleted. But then on the other hand, there are agents and casting directors who say, contact me via email. So for one, we have all that information, and we are definitely one of the most thorough with it, but I can't really think of another source like ours that has that. We also, like I said earlier, we've been printing these books, so I'm sure a lot of people would recognize them from the drama bookshop. So it's been, they still purchase them at River and Theater Circle. But so that, as far as like how to get the information, there's no guesswork about that. I think that people often, especially like younger actors, just want to email because it's what we all know. It's easy. You don't have to pay for the postage and have a printer or, your headshot. But I don't think that people realize, for a lot of people, email is still a sacred thing. Like, you don't want your email bombarded with all of these actor submissions. At the same time, how easy is it to go select all unread and delete without ever opening an email or seeing the person's headshot? And that's one reason why, at least not for a specific audition, but for like any kind of update or like follow-up or reminder, a postcard is your best friend. We say that you have to at least look at the picture on the postcard as you walk to the recycling bin to throw it away. Instead of an email, you can just delete it without ever seeing anything. So in many ways, I guess what I'm trying to hammer home is that mail is still your good friend. But if someone was submitting and wanted to look up a specific casting director's policy, they could do that on Up-to-Date Actor or through one of Up-to-Date Theatrical's publications. And then you said about, okay, what are some of the things not to do or things to do as far as like in the cover letter?
Well, it's sort of a two-part question, which we kind of covered part of the first part of it. Definitely the what things not to do, but what is the actual process for an actor to like, how do they find out, is it like, oh, I want to be in this show, so I'm going to use Up-to-Date Actor to find who's casting the show and then find their email address and then just send them the cover letter with my headshot or, however they want to be contacted. Is that basically the definition of submitting without like responding to a casting call? And then what are the things not to do besides anything you mentioned already?
Yeah, definitely. It depends. You can know about a film that's coming out if there's a director that say you've been following. You have to do your own work, your own research. We have on the site, we have film, TV, pilots, web series, Broadway, off-Broadway, and all regional theater seasons on there. So you can do a lot of research. Now, if you happen to hear, if you're in Ripley Greer auditioning for something and you hear that or see a notice that there's something auditioning, you can then, if you do your research and your homework, yes, then you could do one of these where we're saying kind of like this is going to be, I guess, an oxymoron, but a general targeted submission. You could do that. It's a little bit easier for TV. That's kind of why I talk about TV a lot, because again, TV, you can watch the whole first season and really get an understanding of that world of the show. And then also, because they're at least 10, 12 episodes, they shoot for so much longer. So in that sense, it's not like a 1 week submission period that if you miss it, you're out of luck. So TV, it can be your friend in that sense.
Mm-hmm. I actually have a question. How important is it that actors respond very quickly when new audition notices come out?
Just as far as like to the post of
like if they're on Actors Access or something and they see a new casting call come out, is it important that they respond very quickly, or like waiting 24 hours, they might miss out on an opportunity?
I don't know. I think that's going to be a little bit case to case. I think in general, if you can submit right now, you should submit right now. If you're going to submit a poor quality thing because you're on the fly and you don't have your stuff on your phone, then really what I would say, that's more of something that you need to be aware of and you need to fix that. We do live in a day and age where everyone expects you to be readily accessible at any given time. As far as submitting to an audition post, I don't know that 24 hours wouldn't be a big issue, but I think that you should get in the habit of doing it immediately. But as far as any kind of follow-up to communication, you have to respond, reply, pick up the phone, call back, whatever it is, right away. That should be, I think that needs to be more focus on that, especially for a lot of younger actors.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. Actors, it's very important. Anybody who's sort of like either running a business or freelancing or whatever, to make it as easy as possible for the other party. So you want to make everything as easy as possible. If you are, for instance, someone who always likes to email, but someone called you and left a voicemail and said, "Call me back," it'd be better for you to call them back and not to just send them a random email, or like if you like to text, but they don't like doing that, or you like to use like some sort of messaging program, you have to be willing to work within all the different modes of communication. And as you said, you have to respond quickly. My belief generally is, yes, I like that idea. Like, you want to send in a quality submission, but in some cases, like commercials or even TV shows, they need like a super fast turnaround. And so like, if you're not one of the first people to respond, you might not get the chance. But I was...
Yeah. The screen kind of broke up. Oh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
On that, what I was going to say, especially if it's say like a post on Actors Access or something like that you're direct submitting through that, they very often will give you when the shoot days are, or when the rehearsals start. And so you can see, is it something that is shooting in 3 days, or, is it, then you need to stop everything and submit to it. And certainly the commercial world does not wait for anybody. So that would be something that you should have on your phone, so that even if you're out at brunch, you can stop, go to the bathroom and submit, all of your materials.
Yeah. I have a question for you as a technological person. So I actually make a recommendation for actors, because I've put out my own casting notices to my mailing list of actors. We have a number of people on our list, and occasionally we'll be shooting what's called a screener shoot, or that's what we call them, and we shoot scenes for actors for their reel. And sometimes we need actors to submit for them, because the person who's paying to have the reel done needs another person to be in the scene with them. And so I'll send out this casting notice to all the people on the list, and then I will inevitably, I'll get back some people who respond with exactly what I asked for. And then I'll get back people who completely did not read the instructions and said, yes, I'm interested. Please let me know the shoot dates, even though the shoot dates were clearly written there. And, it said, please send your headshot. And then I'll get people who are like, hey, I'm totally interested. I'm so sorry I can't send my headshot and resume right now because they're on my computer and I'm not at my computer, or I'm away for the weekend or something. And I'm like, I've been recommending that people create something as simple as an about.me page. I don't know if you've heard of that, but you go about.me, that's the website, and you can literally put your picture on there, write a brief bio, and upload your resume or something. And it's so simple. And then all you do is you type in your address to the person. So you say, hey, check out about.me/Martin_Benson or whatever, would be mine. And it's like, my headshot and resume is real, and real is there. I'd love to hear back from you. You could literally send something super simple. Do you recommend that actors create some sort of really, really simple page just so that they can not have this crazy excuse of oh, I can't access my stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't heard about.me, but one thing I would say is that every single actor has to have an Actors Access profile. Even if you're not actually submitting through Actors Access, when you are working with an agent or a manager who's getting the breakdowns and submitting you for projects that only they can see, they do that through Actors Access. So you have to have that set up. And with that, it's kind of like what you're saying. There is, I think, an about me or a bio area, I'm pretty sure. But there, you do have your resume, your however many photos you want, your reel. And so I think similar that I would say that, yeah, you could say quickly, here's and it's the same kind of thing of actorsaccess.com / that you can have your own abigailhardin.com, or not .com, but your unique path. But I think it's a very smart idea, and it's something that everyone should get in the habit of doing. That it's actually, it's one thing to say, can I send you my stuff when I get home? But you could also say, I'll send you that headshot and resume when I get home, but here's my about me page or Actors Access page. And so there's something there immediate. It shows that you're prepared, and that, prepared, I guess. I mean, everyone in this day and age has to be able to respond with their headshot resume on the fly. So it's a great way of doing it.
I actually have one other question for you related to technology stuff. And it is, now I've heard of something called RSS feeds, where you get updates from blogs and different stuff. I'm not sure how it works exactly with places like Actors Access or other casting websites, but are there ways that you could set it up so that you get specific notices right away when something pops up that you're right for?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been on Actors Access in a while. I got out of the business a few years ago, but I'm pretty positive that Actors Access already does that to an extent, so that they will say, here are roles that are right for you. It's also something that you can certainly log on and kind of use no matter where you are. They though have an RSS feed. That's something that actually that's a good idea that I would look up, but I'm not positive of that. But there's certainly for theater, there are RSS feeds for Playbill, which has all the EPAs, Broadway World, and I know has an RSS feed. So it's a great resource for those who want to just stay on top of it. And not to mention, you can find out a lot of info through those RSS feeds that then, if you do your research, can tell you about projects that you might otherwise have missed, especially higher caliber projects.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're kind of coming down towards the end of our our discussion. I mean, it's definitely been really, really amazing so far. But I would like to kind of go into your suggestions in terms of actually making these connections and doing it the right way. We talked a little bit earlier about submitting cold almost to projects, but how do actors effectively go about building relationship with casting directors over time, or agents over time? How do they start the they start the relationship? Is it just like going and meeting them in person? Is it sending them messages? And then how do they like effectively build that relationship and avoid sort of like doing something that might like piss the other person off, or burn a bridge, or, you know, make you look bad in some way?
Sure. Well, as far as agents go, I think that whenever you are in a show, be it a showcase, be it on a shoot, you know, and on of any level, if you're working with someone says that they have an agent, you should always be asking people, be bold and ask, hey, do you mind? Can I use you as a referral? Do you like your agent? Can I use your name? And they'll either say yes or they'll say no. And if they say no, you shouldn't be offended. You know, you don't know if they're in good standing with their agent or if you're too similar to them. But my point is that a referral opens doors unlike anything, by just having, again, that specific, something that's different, not just like, hi, I'd like to work with you, but saying, Martin Benson referred me, said that he loves working with you and that you're expanding your musical theater department and that I would be a great fit. You know, being specific, but with a referral can really open doors. And I mentioned that as far as your question, and that I think if you, again, need to build relationships by being courteous and being specific. So not wasting anyone's time. And then the same thing when you're going and you're paying to go meet someone at a networking event, be right. You know, don't show up for a commercial agent and say you're interested in theater. You know, there's nothing would annoy me more than being like, why are you here? You know, you've wasted my time and your own. So I think really being smart about it, and again, I know I'm a broken record, but targeting people and really knowing what you want can help you build greater relationships. And then you have to, it's a fine line to walk, but as far as follow-up, I think that you should be sending people, once you've met someone, they kind of go into your Rolodex, if you want to say, of, you know, your contacts. And then it's your job to notify them of any changes of, did you just book a job? Have you, you know, gotten several callbacks for huge offices? It's your job to update the industry with that. And I think if you do it, you know, properly, it's not a good word to use as far as what is properly, but if you do it properly, I think that it's not annoying. And then it's your job to stay in touch and really hopefully see them again, invite them to your shows. And if you're not getting any response, you know, you take a message and maybe that person isn't the one that, you know, maybe you should move on. So there's not, I feel like, a one right, you know, or wrong way, but I think the more specific you can be, the greater chance you have of building strong relationships.
Yeah, I like that we keep on sort of circling back to the whole idea of specificity. If there's a definite takeaway that actors could have from this, I think it's that, you know, more is actually not better in this case. More is actually worse. The more people that you try to contact and the more people that you try to like do things for and stuff that aren't specifically targeted, the worse you're going to be with the people who are right for you. And that's going to just decrease your chances with everybody. And so that's like one of the reasons that I feel like your software is so helpful, because it allows people to sort of track all of that and really figure out what's working and what's not.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it truly is what we're all about. It's just specificity and then kind of being able to track what's working and what's not. I love that that's our takeaway is specificity. I want a tattoo, specificity.
Awesome. Is there anything final that you want to wrap up with?
Oh gosh. Well, you were just mentioning as far as, you know, with targeting people, I guess maybe a little takeaway. I would say, you know, pick a focus, be that agent, manager, or a targeted area, and pick 10 people and concentrate on those 10 people. So be that 10 agents, 10 casting directors, something like that. I think 10 is a really manageable number. And when you really are doing, you know, the work that it takes, the research it takes, and the follow-up that it takes, I think 10 is actually a lot more to think. So
yeah, I think that's a really good idea. You pick 10 people and It's definitely more work than you think. And then what happens is sort of as you're targeting those people, you start to realize certain ones might not be right. And you can bring on other ones that you target in place of those. And eventually something's going to lock perfectly into place.
Oh, okay. And then my only other takeaway, which we didn't really talk about, but we're all about positivity. We're all about your mental outlook. And so I just want to encourage everyone that the moment you walk in that audition room, the moment you walk into a rehearsal, that is your opportunity in the day to do what you love, which is perform. And that has to be the win, that you getting that chance to walk in and just to enjoy it. And it's not about booking the job. Just be thankful and happy to be there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate this. This is like a really, really, really valuable interview, and I'm super excited to check out the software that you have. And I pretty much, I am positive that anybody who starts using it is definitely going to see a noticeable change in their career. It's like that little tiny percentage, you know. It seems like a small percent, but you know, you're typically here or whatever, and this is kind of how you are, not being focused. But you make like a 5-degree shift or something, and suddenly over time it's like a huge difference, and within like a year or two from now you might be booking like things that you never even thought possible just by being that specific. And if your software can help with that, you know, that's really cool.
Yeah, well, we certainly believe that it can. And so I would just encourage anyone who's excited about it to go to uptodateactor.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is amazing.
Thanks for having me, Martin.
All right.